Hello, my name is John Doria, and I am the president of Teachers 21, and I'm excited to share with you a framework that we have developed that provides great insight into the work of leadership. And in our work, we see leaders at all different levels of schools. So we see the teacher as the leader of a classroom, we see the principal as the leader of a school, and we see the superintendent as the leader of the district. And this framework applies to leadership at all levels. And it has several components that I'd like to go over with you now. And I'd like to start in the middle where you'll see the target of leadership, and that is improved and inspired learning. And those two adjectives are very important to us because while there's consensus about the fact that leaders are trying to improve learning, there is less agreement about the fact that it needs to touch upon the heart. And we see the emotional component, the energy that's needed to motivate people, is an extremely important aspect of leadership. And so that's why we included the adjective inspired. In the first part of the diagram, if you look at the reflective learning culture, we see that as a leader creates the weather, really, the climate for people to learn. And if I'm a classroom teacher, what I'm doing is creating a climate in my classroom where students can learn from error, where our relationships between peers and with the teacher is such that trust is built, and that there is a sense that we can grow beyond our weaknesses and our limitations, because there is a growth mindset that influences that atmosphere. And for principals, it's no different because they create a culture for the adults in the building. And superintendents create a culture for the vast amount of adults, including the principals in the district. The second part of the diagram, however, is about strategic alignment. And there's a lot of requirements that make leaders, whether they be teachers, principals, or superintendents, keep the trains running. There are emergencies. There are problems of the day. There are upset people. And paying attention to all those problems can really keep your attention away from the real important focus of how do we improve teaching and learning. So effective leaders, whether they be teachers or principals or superintendents, have to stay strategic. And these two aspects that I just went over, the reflective learning culture and the strategic alignment, represent two important ideas. The top represents the psychological safety that's needed for people to learn and to experience the mistakes and failures that are part of learning. But the bottom part represents the accountability that's so important. And effective leaders balance those two very important values out. The next section, which is in light blue, represents a continuous improvement process. And in this arena, we know no matter how well our plans are developed, no matter how much research we've done, when we execute our plans, they never meet all the goals and all the needs of the people they are meant to serve. And so you have to be continually looking and assessing who has really met the learning goals, who has almost met the learning goals, and who is very lost if I'm a classroom teacher. And then you have to make adaptations. That is done on a daily basis by teachers, but it also needs to be done by principals when they look at the impact of their meetings or other initiatives, and similar with superintendents and their district-wide initiatives. Constantly tinkering, assessing, and trying to close the gap between what we hoped we would achieve versus what we really achieved. And finally, the green triangle represents skillful practice. No matter how many years you've been doing this work, you need to be continually practicing. And there are three domains of this practice: deepening your knowledge, expanding your strategies, and constantly tinkering with the teamwork and the effect of that team so that collaboration at its highest levels. And again, if I'm a teacher, I'm deepening my content knowledge about literacy and mathematics or whatever subject I teach. I'm broadening my pedagogical base, but I'm also looking at the groupings of my students and how I collaborate with my peers. If I'm a principal, I'm constantly thinking about skills around running meetings, developing effective outreach to parents, managing conflict. This is a skill set that needs to be constantly practiced, and I'm constantly looking at how I can run and support better teamwork, just as two examples. But it's not that you get to the point where you stop practicing. And when you put all these pieces together, what you end up achieving is the target: improved and inspired learning. Thank you.